You've been hunting for a way to bring the fairway into your living room without turning the whole house into a warehouse, and you're probably nervous about spending a few $100 on something that ends up being more hassle than fun. Maybe you've tried laying a net against a wall, or you've watched endless videos of people swinging in cramped basements and wondered if there's a cleaner, less permanent solution. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'm going to walk through why the KHAMPA Foldable Golf Enclosure Kit could be the middle ground you've been looking for and where it might still leave you wishing for more. First off, the biggest question most new indoor golfers ask is, how much space do I really need? Traditional indoor simulators often demand a dedicated room, a ceiling height of 8 feet or more, and a permanent net or cage that you can't just roll up at the end of the day. The KHAMPA kit claims to be foldable and set up by one person, which sounds promising, but the real test is whether that claim translates into everyday convenience. In my own setup, the frame collapses into a series of lightweight aluminum poles that slot together with a simple latch system. The entire structure goes from flat to standing in about 5 minutes, and because the net itself is sewn onto a flexible frame, you can tuck everything into a closet or even a hallway when you're done. That means you can keep a living room or garage usable for other activities without carving out a permanent golf zone. Who should consider this? If you're a weekend golfer who wants to practice your swing a few times a week, live in an apartment or a house without a spare room, and you don't want to invest in a full-blown launch monitor system, this enclosure gives you a low-commitment way to hit real balls. It's also a good fit for families with kids who need a safe, padded area for a quick swing session while a parent watches from the couch. The safe and durable label isn't just marketing fluff. The net is made of thick, UV-treated polyester that can stop a standard driver ball without tearing, and the poles are coated to resist dents if you accidentally bump them. On the flip side, if you're a low-handicap player who relies on precise launch data, or if you own a dedicated home theater that you can't compromise, this kit probably isn't the right choice. The enclosure itself doesn't include a launch monitor, ball tracking software, or any integrated lighting. That means you're still dependent on a separate sensor or camera system if you want feedback beyond just, "Did I hit the ball?" For those who want a plug-and-play simulation with realistic graphics, you'll still need to spend extra money on a separate console and possibly a more robust mounting solution. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths that become evident after you've actually used the kit for a month or two. The first thing I noticed was the way the net absorbs the ball's energy. In a typical net, you might see a ball bounce back erratically, forcing you to chase it across the room. With the KHAMPA net, the ball tends to drop straight down after impact, which reduces the time you spend retrieving it and lets you string together more swings in a shorter period. That's a subtle but significant improvement for anyone trying to work on consistency. The second strength is the portability. I've taken the folded enclosure up a set of stairs to my guest bedroom for a quick practice session, and the weight felt manageable, roughly the same as a medium-sized suitcase. That level of mobility is rare in indoor golf kits, and it means you can actually store it out of the way rather than leaving it permanently set up. Every product has its trade-offs, and this one is no different. The most noticeable weakness is the height limitation. The frame reaches just under 7 feet, which is fine for most iron shots, but a driver swing that reaches the top of the net can sometimes clip the upper edge, especially if you have a high-handed swing. I found myself dialing back the club length or using a slightly shorter driver to avoid that. It's not a deal-breaker for many, but it does restrict the full range of practice you might want. Another consideration is the lack of built-in lighting. The enclosure comes with a few small LED strips that you can attach, but they're not bright enough for a dark basement. If your practice space isn't already well lit, you'll need to add floor lamps or overhead lights, which adds to the overall setup cost. In terms of durability, after a few weeks of regular use, 3 to 4 practice sessions per week, I've only noticed minor wear on the corners where the net meets the frame. The stitching still looks solid, and none of the poles have shown any bending. That aligns with the premium sports kit claim, though it's worth noting that the warranty information isn't highlighted.